Joining us now, Grover Norquist. We all know Grover needs no introduction. National figure, American tax reform. Grover, thanks for being with us today.
Delighted to be with you. Busy day.
So, Grover, you got a hard out at 8:55, so let's get right to it here. I got 10 minutes. Assessment of what happened a week ago, Tuesday. We got crushed everywhere you look. Where do we go from here? Grover Norquist.
The Democrats did a better job of turnout in each of those states, and that's a real challenge. We didn't bring out Trump voters. We didn't bring out as many Republicans. We did surge in total numbers compared to previous years, particularly in New Jersey. But the Democrats showed more turnout as well. So part of it is we simply need to work on turnout and getting to each of these voters. And there are Trump voters who need to hear from Trump. So we got to work on that in the future. What we did learn was the Democrats said this was all about health care, but what they really were trying to do was cover up the failure of Obamacare. And we now have a year to talk about this in the next election. What were these subsidies for? Okay, Obamacare, we were promised by President Obama and all the establishment media, was going to reduce the cost of health care by $2,500 for a family. Instead, it about doubled plus. It got more expensive. One of the biggest problems that American families have, that working families have in this country, is Obamacare. They got in and said, we know what you want. Here, if you buy insurance, you have to buy this, this, or this. And they took away people's choices. They made you pay for things that you didn't want to do, maybe things you don't even approve of doing. But the government was going to tell everybody what they had to have. And rather than health savings accounts, which give people more options, trade association efforts, and religious groups that get together and pool risk, all of which simply need the government to get out of the way. And that's one of the project lines that the Republicans have. We had hoped to do it in the BBB, Big Beautiful Bill, but as that got crunched towards the end of time, some things didn't get inside the sandbox. But they have strong support among Republicans. There's no opposition, House and Senate. When we do reconciliation this coming year, January, February, March, you will see a tremendous increase in the opportunities people will have for various kinds of healthcare, stepping out of Obamacare's monopoly that bankrupts people. And just what they wanted was, please give us the money to cover up and hide. You know, it's like getting cut and putting mascara over it, rather than fixing it, right? Putting some sort of cover it up. And that's what they were doing. Frankly, that's what we do with public education for the last 30 years. The unionized government monopoly isn't working, and every time it doesn't work, they announce if we paid the same people the same amount of money to do the same thing that wasn't working, that'll work this time. But when you give people school choice or homeschooling or education savings accounts, that gives you competition with the public schools, and actually that improves them. Competition always improves things. The government monopoly that Obama gave us is a disaster.
So let me just ask you this straight out. How do we hold the House?
We hold the House by focusing on giving people more healthcare efforts. We hold the House by thinking and looking at some of the decisions that were made on tariffs that are raising costs, and evidently they're going to get rid of the tariffs on coffee and some other things that are showing up and costing people more. This is not a good idea. But the big one that we can do legally, and that the president tried to do in the last 4 years, is to end the taxation on inflation. Reagan got rid of the taxation of inflation by moving brackets up. When you got a pay increase that was only inflation, the brackets went up the same amount. So you didn't get put into a higher tax bracket because of the government's inflation. That was progress. This would do the same thing for your home. When you go to sell your house and it's now $200,000 more than it used to be, but half of that's inflation, you don't pay capital. You won't, under the president's plan, pay taxes on the inflation part, just the real part. When you sell a farm, a small business, stocks that you've owned for decades of time, and which 75% of the value of that stock that mom gave you is actually inflation, not and shouldn't be taxed. That will dramatically change if you own a home, if you have a small business, if you have any of those, any stocks in 401k, IRAs, retirement accounts, all of those will benefit, and they will be more valuable because they're not so heavily taxed when you sell them, whenever you sell them.
How do we stop the power grab, the obscene, egregious power grab by the communists in Virginia to take our 4 seats away, going from 6-5 to 10-1? That makes the math for Trump to keep the House, for the Republicans to keep the House, that much stiffer. How do we stop that?
Well, what you can do is make sure that the Republicans get serious and honest uh, redistricting. When Texas redistricts, which will strengthen the Republicans, it will be less gerrymandered politically than California is today. The big fib that's being told is Republicans doing redistricting is cheating. The Democrats doing it for the last 60 years is the status quo. The reason so many states took so long to become Republican states in terms of their congressmen, their state legislators, was that they were gerrymandered in the southern states, in the Midwestern states where Democrats were in charge. Texas should have been having Republican state legislators decades before they did, and Republican congressmen, and other states like Florida and so on, way delayed. The Supreme Court is likely to say that racial gerrymandering, which the Democrats do, and I mean, you could argue gerrymandering is either politics or it's a bad idea, but racial gerrymandering is just disgusting. And the Democrats win somewhere between 12 to 19 of their seats that they would not have without a misinterpretation of the law by previous Supreme Courts. This new Supreme Court is not in favor of state-sponsored racism. They said the way not to have state-sponsored racism is not to do it. And too many government programs and too many government laws are based on race. This is crazy. We should get rid of that. And as we've always wanted, to have a colorblind society, the government needs to be there as well, not just people in their hearts, but the government and what they do. That change, getting rid of racial gerrymandering by the Democrats, at least 12 seats would move to the Republicans nationwide.
So, what are the you've been following this, Grover, many years. What are the odds of the ruling by SCOTUS in our favor in time to do this?
I think it depends on each state's rules, but states would have a whole year to do this, and states that are red, where they have a Supreme Court that's not crazy and a House and a Senate that's Republican and a governor, and that's where much of this would take place, could move pretty quickly. And you would see permanent improvements, and you take race out of the equation of how you decide who votes where, for crying out loud. I mean, what time is it? Why are the Democrats still doing this? Why were they ever doing it? But that is a real challenge. But I think it can be done very quickly. And if you listen to the conversation of the judges, they want to get rid of state-sponsored racism and get rid of the government discriminating against people or for people or against people because of their race. And I think we're getting to that day where Martin Luther King wanted, which is where we have a colorblind society and don't judge people by the color of their skin. We certainly shouldn't do gerrymandering based on something like that either.
And you believe that will net us 12 seats?
Yeah, if everyone that is gerrymandered into a Democratic district because of that moved, it's somewhere between 12 and 19, but the best estimates I see are at least 12.
Because obviously they have to be in Republican states. If they're in Democratic states, the Democrats will drag their feet on getting anything done until after the election.
They could delay it, but they can't. But you can get sued too, So, but you're right. It could be delayed, some of it for this election. But it's inevitable. This is too disgusting for words to have racial gerrymandering.
Well, we're going to need your help too in Virginia. We got to put an effort to stop this. We're going to have to defeat it in a referendum. And I've been all over this. It's not going to be easy to do, but we're going to be marshaling all of our allies, you included, in order to help defeat this. Grover Norquist, I know you got to bounce. You got another segment coming up, but I want to thank you for your time. And
thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Grover, people want to follow you at ATR. Where do they go?
G Norquist at ATR.org. ATR.org is our website. Come and visit. If you'd like to get our material, we'll send it out to you. I tweet at Grover Norquist.
Thank you, Grover. Thank you for being
Thank
with
you.
us. All right, John Fredericks Media Network. Patrick Mara coming up. Quick word from our sponsors. We've got to set up for them. And we're going to be back after the flip. Stay with us. Don't forget, concert. When is it? June 26th, Virginia Beach. Who's coming? Meghan Trainor. Who's going? Me. I wouldn't miss that for the world, man. I'm going. Let's go. Hear a little Meghan Trainor, right? Be right back. Patrick Mara next.